I've now played Animal Crossing New Horizons for 365 days in a row, from the very first day the game came out to its first anniversary. I have a lot of opinions built up from all this time I spent playing, so I want to talk about it all with you. I'd like to share with you exactly what I think this game has done really well, and where I think it stops itself from being a great game that absolutely everybody can enjoy. Firstly, I want to say I have had a really good time with this game. Coming back to it every day has been quite relaxing for me, and I enjoyed it about as much as, maybe more than, the previous game, New Leaf. The addition of terraforming your land, crafting materials, and being able to place furniture outside were all huge, and they really changed the way I played the game because they opened up some huge doors in customization. But just because I had fun, it doesn't mean I don't see the large flaws in its design. It tries to be a lot better than New Leaf in many ways, but it slacks in other places. And I think the places where it slacks are exactly where it manages to lose people's interest. This game has made plenty of great steps in things like character customization and town building. Visual polish, for one, is way higher than before. You can change your skin color, eyes, and hair at any time you want. The animal villagers interact a lot more with their surroundings and exude personality from their looks. And other cute things like wind affecting particles, flowers, and clothes, and footprints in the sand being different for each animal. Little things. A few of the annoyances of older games have also been simplified to make things easier. The 3D decorating mode from Happy Home Designer makes furniture so much more fun to use over the clunkiness and claustrophobia of past games. The ability to place furniture on half tiles is also really nice. The new tool wheel lets you equip tools and items much faster. You can place any furniture you want in the outdoors as opposed to the very limited public works projects. You can customize furniture items anytime you like using a workbench. You can decide exactly where villagers' houses go using a planning item, instead of it being entirely random chance where they'll go every time. These changes are really appreciated, but you shouldn't expect these problems to still exist in the first place with where games have gotten now, so maybe it's nothing special that they're gone. So yeah, there's a lot of good visual polish and some things are improved, but most of the actual gameplay parts had to stay quite firmly where they were. A lot of my inspiration for this video came from Yurik Saladbar, who made a nice video about trying New Horizons a year ago, and it really highlights some flaws that are starkly present in the game. Since this was his first Animal Crossing, he picked up on a lot of the game's outdated mechanics that old fans would usually overlook. To name just some things that have no right to exist: you can't sort your inventory and it's clunky to navigate. Same goes with storage since you can't search for things. You can't even use the Switch's touchscreen for anything in the UI except drawing on the notice board. The whole game's insistence on using dialogue boxes for everything instead of menus means everything takes forever. Buying and selling items, playing online. Even crafting things and writing letters takes longer because of an abundance of dialogue boxes. Online play likes to pause the game for every player in the session at every chance it gets, and having guests around limits what you can even do in town. In general, there's not enough to do to interact with others for it to even be worth it. You can finally buy clothes through a neat menu that lets you try things on, but you can only buy one of each type at once without leaving and re-entering. Buying Nook Miles tickets takes like 20 seconds each. Building bridges and moving houses is just... oh god, I don't even want to get into that. The amount of annual holidays and events has dramatically decreased, and most of them have been delegated to little limited time furniture items you can just buy, no fun required. Villagers look a lot nicer, but talking to them feels a lot less personal than before. You're more likely to hear the same thing multiple times a week, and you can't interact meaningfully with them besides give them clothes to wear. Terraforming is the most interesting part of the game, but it's really sluggish to get to from your phone, and has some strange limitations. Overall, it feels like the game has done worse than New Leaf in some places, or simply shown its age by not catching up with the standards of newer games. It feels a bit like a half step up from New Leaf. It still contains a lot of the inconveniences from that game that should be gone by now. One quite friendly difference about this game is that you're not as obligated to be there for your town every day, through a variety of changes. Animals never move out unless you tell them they can. You don't have to water flowers to keep them from dying. And weeds are now useful crafting items instead of a nuisance. This is likely to make some people less scared of coming back to their game after a long break, but it might also just discourage you from coming back at all. On the topic of replayability, the beginning of the game is honestly the most exciting part. This is nothing new compared to New Leaf, but in this game there's even less long-term progression to look forward to. Having crafting materials appear in rocks, trees, and on the ground had the potential to change up the daily routine in the early game, but this stops being the case once you have enough for anything you'll ever want. Nook Miles Island tours quickly become pretty much useless for the same reason. There are only 2 other buildings in the game beside the shop. The other shop owners you saw in the old games are weekly visitors, which creates a pretty unreasonable scarcity to some of the items you get. The retail shop now only has 2 tiers, and the second tier appears pretty soon after the first. Not to say New Leaf just does it better with more tiers and more shops, but the consequence of this change is that every day is more likely to feel the same and things conclude a lot faster. You just have a lot less to look forward to in the long run. Maybe the reason the developers can't add new buildings to the game like people have asked them to is because some people have to fit 18 houses on their island as is. This game is going to get a lot more boring the second year round if they don't add anything new to collect or add events that they missed the first time around like April Fool's Day. Not to mention the huge amount of missing characters in this game, which only adds to the feeling that something important is absent here. Again, I want to say I don't hate this game at all. I really want it to be the best it can be. I just think it has a long way to go before it can be as accessible and long-lasting as it wants to. Most of my friends lost interest in the game maybe a month or so after it released, and I don't think that was their fault. To me, this game is very solid and visually pleasing, but highly unfinished. Another victim of the trend of releasing a game in a playable state with the expectation that it'll be eventually good. It doesn't seem to be following that format very well, even after that delay it had. The updates we're getting every month or so aren't fixing the issues that matter the most, and that's really hurting this game's longevity. They could be doing so much to make this game more fun for everyone, and it's really strange that they're just not. Maybe I can't blame them entirely for post-launch development being slow. Just 2 days before the game was released, I was put in lockdown, and throughout 2020, a lot of the world had to slow down to make way for this pandemic. Who knows how much of it is their fault? I only hope things improve this year, otherwise people are probably not going to stay interested much longer.